In the world of basketball, there are a handful of individuals who hold tremendous power over the fate of their respective teams. But one name stands out above the rest, striking fear into the hearts of opponents and earning the respect of even the most seasoned veterans. He is the mastermind behind some of the greatest trades in NBA history. A man whose shrewd tactics and a keen eye for talent have elevated multiple franchises to championship contenders. Today, we delve into the story of the one NBA general manager that everyone is scared of, Danny Ainge. The Boston Celtics, who are currently the best team in the league, were built through the most insane trades in NBA history, including the trade of Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, the return of the first overall pick, the subsequent selection of Jason Tatum, as well as the exchange of Dad Radio Bear for what is arguably the most absurd package of draft picks and compensation in exchange for a player who was never expected to become a star. The absurdity of Danny Ainge's resume makes it hard to comprehend why NBA clubs would want to trade for him. In exchange for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett, he helped the Celtics win a championship. He has made 4 more moves that would rank as the pinnacle of the careers of most current general managers, including the trade of Isaiah Thomas, a second-team All-NBA player. The reason Ainge is successful is that he understands what his squad needs. Great at identifying talent, Danny Ainge is always in the know. Despite the general opinion that he would have selected Markelle Fultz, he traded out for the first round and instead selected Jason Tatum. He was able to assess not only his team, but also the direction the league was taking. As a result, he decided to move back to sign Jason Tatum because he realized that a bigger wing with the ability to score and create was a better player and asset for his team than someone like Fultz. As a general manager, Danny Ainge is known for being ready to make adjustments and take initiatives that other clubs would not have considered. Also, he acquired all those draft selections by dealing Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to the Nets. Even so, that sequence was decent. They still may have made the playoffs, but he was merciless about it because he knew what he could get in return for those players. The Donovan Mitchell deal, which was innovative at the time, serves as an example of this. When the Jazz traded away, Mitchell, who was bound by a long-term deal, would have been unhappy to play for this Jazz team. He ultimately chose to go to Cleveland. Another example of this is the transfer of Rudy Gobert, who was at a young age and had a long-term contract. The Utah Jazz was not a championship-caliber club when Danny Ainge came into management, and they lacked the resources to keep acquiring players. He sent Garnett and Pierce to Brooklyn, a struggling club with a competitive owner. Mitchell and Kobe were able to provide him with that much value, and the Jazz now has a bright future ahead of them. He is a tough negotiator who appreciates the worth of his players and is prepared to either obtain what he wants or walk away from a contract. He does a wonderful job of spotting needy clubs around the league. He was able to obtain all those things and all those major swaps from them because he understood the circumstances. They had a few good players, but they wanted to increase their chances of perhaps winning a title. Not only was his team admitted, but also the opposing squad. Regarding a new front office there, the scenario in Minnesota is somewhat comparable. He took advantage of the fact that there were rumors of a new ownership team entering the scene at the moment since they wanted to make a big impression. You guys want to come here, right? He is quite talented. He is a defensive player who belongs on the All-NBA team. The underestimated aspect is that you should simply offer me every single thing you have that you're willing to exchange. Understanding the backdrop of other teams and teams that you may be able to take advantage of in a deal, in my opinion, is a talent assessment for making smart trades in the league. The most crucial information in this text is that Danny Ainge was prepared to fire him as a result of a shared understanding and that, apart from the Tatum incident, he performed poorly in the draft. Boston had several selections in the late lottery and teens, but they seldom ever selected all-stars. Due to Danny Ainge's acquisition of them, Utah now has a chance to turn that situation around. I'm generally interested in seeing how their squad would have looked if they hadn't brought him in. If the rumors and rumblings that Mitchell didn't want to play with Colbert and just wanted to be on a different team, in general, were true, maybe they wouldn't have made those changes this past summer, just as they hadn't made similar moves in the years before, as we have heard for years. And we heard rumors about those men that were extremely comparable to them, you know. And it's a truly eye-opening assessment of how much can change for you and your business by putting the appropriate people in place. I believe it's pretty simple to say that Danny Ainge is one of the greatest NBA teams of all time. If you're keeping track, his name is associated with at least two of them as well as a ton of other ones. And it's not only about the great players, like selling away Garnett and Pierce or Wagelbear and Mitchell. It's also about the lesser-known ones, like the Isaiah Thomas trade, which raised them to a new level and enabled them to enter this period with Brown and Tatum and eventually Kyrie and Horford. Of course, each of those players left it at a different time, but the significance of those smaller moves for the NBA general manager cannot be overstated. They include not only making the star trades right, but also obtaining that level of value by giving up virtually nothing for a player who ultimately develops into a second-team All-NBA player. And for Utah going ahead, what I believe all of this is heading to is something we've previously seen from him when you consider where Boston was at the time he brought in Kevin Garnett, and they eventually won the championship. They had resources, were hoarding young players, had some draft selections, and had a franchise player in Paul Pierce who they wanted to develop, but weren't quite sure how to do it. I believe that's the kind of future we may be setting up for Utah and ourselves here. They're going to have all the picks and all the young players, and at some point, he's going to see an opportunity to go get a star, go get two stars, or try to finesse his way into some All-NBA caliber guys that he's going to have the assets to be able to do that. It might be somewhat similar to what happened in Boston, and when he moves on, as if he moves on from winning the title of Boston, and bring those guys in, and in Utah, I believe he would firmly establish himself as the sport's all-time best general manager. Also, the fact that he may go down in league history as the greatest general manager, and that his name is associated with all these spectacular transactions, serves as a terrific illustration of how tough it is to do this properly. And as I said before, Boston was essentially done with him and was prepared to let him go. He was prepared to carry out other reserved tasks. There are many elements involved, but you would think that if you had someone like that, you could do all in your power to retain them. However, that was not the case with Boston, who even went as far as to promote their head coach to the front office. They've now worked out their head coaching problem. One of the most compelling tales in the league of modern history is Edey. I identify with the Ainge's career and history. We hope you enjoyed it and gained some new insights into this exciting NBA trade. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about this scenario? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more NBA content and analysis. Until next time, keep following your favorite teams and players, and we'll see you in the next video. Until then, peace.